The woman who mocked my daughter thought our custody fight was finished. 7 years later, one forgotten piece of paper came back to destroy everything she believed. What did she miss? My lawyer called me on a Tuesday morning and said the custody hearing had been reopened after 7 years because new evidence had been accepted by the court. I knew exactly what this was about. 7 years earlier, I sat inside the Jefferson County Courthouse holding my daughter's hand. The folding chairs were cold. The metal legs scraped against the floor. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. The hallway smelled like old paper and burned coffee. Someone had left a coffee pot near the clerk's desk. Nobody trusted it. I didn't either. My name is Ethan Carter. I was 37 years old. I worked construction 6 days a week. I read every document placed in front of me. I rarely spoke more than necessary. My daughter Lily was 8. She sat beside me holding a small stuffed rabbit with one missing eye. My wife Helen waited at home. She believed in me even when nobody else did. Across the room sat senior social worker Amanda Pierce. She carried a thick file. She looked confident. Too confident. She had already decided how the day would end. I could see it in her face. She wasn't nervous. She wasn't uncertain. She thought the case was finished before it started. Case number JV 2016-4418. I still remember every digit. Amanda opened her file. She adjusted her glasses. Then she smiled. Not a kind smile. A certain smile. The kind people wear when they think they already won. The recommendation is clear, she said. Her voice echoed through the hearing room. The current arrangement should remain unchanged. I listened. I said nothing. Amanda continued. Mr. Carter's request has very little chance of success. A few people looked at me. Some looked away. Others nodded. Amanda turned another page. Based on all available information, I see no reason this custody order will ever be modified. Ever. She actually used that word. Ever. The judge looked down at the paperwork. Judge Ronald Hayes signed one page. Then another. His pen moved quickly. Confidently. Like he had done this 1,000 times before. Maybe he had. I watched carefully. I always watched carefully. Amanda leaned back in her chair. For a moment she looked relieved. Like she had completed a simple task. Like the outcome had never been in doubt. Lily squeezed my hand. Dad. I looked at her. It's okay. She nodded. She trusted me. That made everything harder. And everything easier. Judge Hayes pushed a document across the table. I picked it up. The paper felt warm from the copier. I read every line. Every word. Every date. Most people skim legal papers. I never did. Amanda watched me. I think she expected an argument. Maybe anger. Maybe frustration. Instead I kept reading. The room grew quiet. The fluorescent lights hummed above us. Someone coughed near the back wall. I turned the page. Then I read it again. Amanda checked her watch. She looked bored. The judge signed the final page. Amanda smiled again. The case was over. At least that was what she believed. I folded the document carefully. Then I removed a small folded receipt from the file in my lap. I looked at it for 2 seconds. No longer. Then I slipped it into my coat pocket. Nobody noticed. Not Amanda. Not the judge. Not the clerk. Not even Lily. I stood. Thank you, I said. Amanda blinked. That wasn't the reaction she expected. Judge Hayes nodded politely. The hearing ended. Just like that. Outside, the hallway felt colder. Lily walked beside me. The stuffed rabbit hung from her arm. Dad, did we lose? I looked at her.
No.
She frowned. But they said. I heard what they said. She waited. I smiled. We're okay. That was all. She accepted the answer. Children know more than adults think. As we walked toward the parking lot, Amanda stood near the courthouse entrance speaking with another employee. I heard her laugh. Not loudly. Just enough. Then she said something that carried through the wind. He'll never get that custody order changed. The employee nodded. Amanda looked completely certain. I didn't stop walking. I didn't look back. Inside my truck, Lily climbed into her seat. I started the engine. The courthouse disappeared behind us. At home, Helen met us at the door. She saw my face immediately. Not sad. Not angry. Thinking. Always thinking. Lily ran inside. Helen waited until she was gone. What did the judge say? I handed her the order. She read quietly, then looked up.
I'm sorry.
I shook my head. No need. She studied me. She knew me well. Too well. You're not worried. I sat at the kitchen table. The same table where I paid bills. The same table where Lily did homework. The same table where I would eventually spend thousands of hours reading records. I unfolded the document again. Then I placed it beside the folded receipt from my coat pocket. Helen sat across from me. What are you thinking? I looked at the papers. A date. A number. A reference. Something small. Something easy to miss. Something Amanda Pierce never noticed. Something Judge Hayes signed without seeing. I had noticed it before the hearing ended. I had noticed it while everyone else was celebrating. The room had moved on. I hadn't. I read the line one more time. Then I folded the order. Carefully. Neatly. Precisely. I slid it into a folder and closed it. Helen waited. I finally looked up. We'll see, I said. She nodded. That was enough for her. Outside, the evening sun disappeared behind the trees. Inside, the house was quiet. Lily laughed from her bedroom. The custody order sat on the table. The folded receipt rested beside it. And the detail they had all missed stayed right where I needed it. I kept the document. I would need it later. Before we go further, subscribe and stay with me until the end, because the answer I found in an old courthouse file was something nobody expected, and it changed everything. 3 days after the hearing, life looked normal. At least from the outside. I went to work. I poured concrete. I picked Lily up from school at 3:15 every afternoon. We ate dinner together. Then the house grew quiet. That was when my second job began. Every evening I sat at the kitchen table. The custody order stayed beside me. So did my folder. The folded receipt remained tucked inside. Helen noticed. She never asked right away. She simply watched. One night she placed a cup of coffee beside me. What are you reading? Documents. She smiled. You've been reading documents all week. I looked at the papers. Probably longer than that. She laughed softly. Then she sat beside me. The kitchen clock showed 9:41 p.m. Lily was asleep. The house was silent except for the scratch of my pen. I wasn't reading randomly. I was searching for something specific. I just didn't know exactly. Then returned to coloring. That was the end of the conversation. Children trust simple answers. Winter arrived. The courthouse basement felt even colder. I learned where everything was. The old microfiche machines. The archive shelves. The law library upstairs. The computer terminals near the records desk. I spent weekends moving between all of them. The smell never changed. Old paper. Dust. Ink. Coffee. The copy machine hummed constantly. Sometimes I heard it in my sleep. One Tuesday in February, I found a custody case from 1998. At first it looked unimportant. The binder was worn. The pages were yellow. The spine was cracked. I almost skipped it. Instead I sat down and read. Then I read it again. The case involved a father, a daughter, custody dispute. Nothing unusual. Until page 17. I stopped. My eyes moved back to the paragraph. Then forward. Then back again. I checked the citation. I checked the date. I checked the ruling. The precedent was clear. Very clear. I pulled my notebook closer. The case directly contradicted what Amanda Pierce had said during my hearing. Directly. Not indirectly. Not maybe. Directly. I copied the page. Then another. Then another. My heart beat faster. Not from excitement. From certainty. There is a difference. I took the copies upstairs. Then I searched for more. Hours later I found a second reference. Then a third. All connected. All pointing toward the same thing. By sunset I had 22 pages spread across a table. The pieces fit together. Not perfectly, but enough. I sat there for almost an hour. reading, thinking, checking. The courthouse closed at 5 p.m. I barely noticed. The clerk finally walked over. "Sir, we're closing." I looked up. "Oh, right." I gathered my papers. Carefully, slowly. I didn't want to miss anything. Outside, snow covered the parking lot. I sat in my truck. The heater hummed softly. The copies rested on my lap. I read them again, then again. The words didn't change. Neither did the meaning. This changes everything. I didn't say it aloud. I didn't need to. I already knew. Back home, Helen was making dinner. She took one look at me. Then she stopped stirring the pot. "You found something." I placed the documents on the table. Maybe it was my face. Maybe it was the way I handled the papers. She knew immediately. "What is it?" I sat down. "Something important." "How important?" I thought for a moment, then answered honestly. "Very." She stared at me. For the first time in months, I wasn't searching. I was certain. Helen pulled out a chair. Neither of us touched the papers for several seconds. Finally she spoke. "Does your lawyer know?" "Not yet." "You should call. Tomorrow." She nodded. The next morning I made one phone call. Nothing dramatic.
No speeches. No celebration.
Just one question. My attorney listened quietly. Then there was silence. A long silence. Finally he spoke. "Where did you find this?" "The courthouse. The judge never cited this." "I know." Another silence. Then one sentence. "Bring me copies." That was all. I hung up.
No cheating.
No victory. Not yet. I placed the documents inside my folder. Behind the custody order. Behind my notes. Behind the folded receipt. The folder finally closed. Barely. That evening I sat at the kitchen table again. The same chair. The same light. The same quiet room. But everything felt different. The answer was sitting inside that folder. The precedent was clear. The law was clear. The mistake was clear. I understood what it meant. So did my lawyer. But I wasn't ready to use it. Not yet. I folded the document carefully and placed it where it belonged. It would take time. Years, maybe. Time was something I had. And for the first time since the hearing, I knew I was no longer searching. I was waiting. Year 1. Lily was 10 now. Her school backpack was bigger. Her shoes were bigger too. Everything kept growing except the custody order. That never changed. Not yet. One afternoon my lawyer called. "The other side wants to make a deal." I leaned back in my chair. The document from the courthouse sat inside my folder. Right where it had always been. What kind of deal? More visitation. I waited. Every other weekend. More holidays. More flexibility. I looked at the folder.
No.
My lawyer sighed. "They think you'll take it." "I won't." A day later they increased the offer. I said no again. The answer took less than 2 seconds. The confusion started immediately. They couldn't understand why. Neither did my lawyer. But he stopped asking. Year 3. Lily turned 13. She played volleyball now. I never missed a game. Rain or shine. Home or away. I was there. The document stayed in my notebook. Protected inside a plastic sleeve. One Saturday I received a phone call. Not from a lawyer. From Amanda Pierce herself. The same social worker. The same confidence. At least at first. "We should talk." I agreed. We met at a coffee shop. The smell of coffee filled the room. A cup sat between us. Neither of us touched it much. Amanda got straight to the point. "What will it take?" I looked at her. "What do you mean? What do you want?" I already knew. The answer had never changed. But I wasn't ready yet. She offered more visitation. I said no. She offered additional holidays. I said no. She offered financial support. I said no. Her confidence began to crack. The smile disappeared. The certainty disappeared too. Finally she leaned forward. "Why?" I picked up my coffee. "I don't need to explain." For the first time she looked worried. Year 5. Lily turned 15. She was almost as tall as Helen. Life kept moving. Birthdays. School dances. Christmas mornings. soccer games, family dinners. Through all of it I kept waiting, patiently. The document never left my folder. One winter morning my lawyer called again. His voice sounded different. What happened? The other side is nervous. I smiled slightly. That was new. How nervous? They want another meeting. A week later came the biggest offer yet. More custody time. More money. A larger settlement. Promises. Concessions. Everything they once refused. My answer stayed the same.
No.
My lawyer stared at me across his desk. Stacks of legal papers covered the table. Are you sure? I opened the folder. I looked at the document, then closed it. I'm sure. He nodded slowly. He understood now. Not everything. Just enough. A month later the final phone call arrived. The confidence was gone. Completely. Amanda wasn't demanding anymore. She wasn't dismissing me anymore. She wasn't laughing anymore. Instead she asked my lawyer one simple question. What does he want? My lawyer answered immediately. The same thing he's always wanted. Silence. Then he continued. He wants the right to be Lily's father. Another silence followed. Longer this time. The fight had changed. They finally understood something important. Couldn't be bought. I couldn't be pressured. And I couldn't be worn down. A few days later my lawyer called again. I already knew why. They want to negotiate. I looked at the folder resting on my kitchen table. The waiting was over. I picked up the phone. Yes, I said. Now we can talk. The mediation room looked smaller than I remembered. Cold chairs. Gray walls. A long table in the middle. The same courthouse. The same building. 7 years later, Amanda Pierce sat across from me. She looked older now. Tired. The confidence that once filled every room had disappeared. My lawyer sat beside me. A thick stack of papers rested in front of him. My folder sat in front of me. The same folder. The same one I had carried for years. The mediator folded his hands. Let's discuss custody arrangements. My lawyer nodded. Then he opened the folder. For the first time we revealed what we had found. Not a theory. Not an opinion. A fact. A legal precedent from 1998. A binding custody ruling that directly applied to my case. A ruling never cited during my original hearing. Never discussed. Never addressed. My lawyer slid copies across the table. Amanda's attorney read the first page. Then the second. Then the third. His expression changed. Slowly at first. Then all at once. He whispered something to Amanda. She looked down. Read. Then read again. The room became silent. My lawyer continued. The original recommendation relied on an incomplete legal analysis. He pointed to the ruling. This precedent clearly states that when both parents are stable, involved, and committed, meaningful shared custody must be considered. The mediator reviewed the documents. Page after page. No one spoke. Finally he looked up. Counsel is correct. Amanda's attorney closed his file. He knew. Everyone knew. The argument was over. 7 years of waiting had led to this table. This moment. This page. Amanda didn't argue. She didn't laugh. She didn't even look at me. She simply stared at the document she had missed years earlier. The mediator continued reviewing terms. The new agreement was straightforward. I would receive primary physical custody. 70%. Amanda's side would receive 30% visitation. Equal authority over major educational decisions. Equal authority over medical decisions. A permanent custody framework requiring substantial new evidence before future challenges could be filed. Monthly child support of $800. Counseling support for Lily if she ever needed it. Clear schedules. Clear boundaries. Clear protection. Everything in writing.
Everything permanent.
The mediator finished. Do both parties accept? Amanda's attorney nodded first. Then Amanda nodded. Quietly. The fight was over. Not because I shouted. Not because I threatened anyone. Because I waited. Because I documented. Because I prepared. The papers were signed. One by one. The sound of each signature echoed through the room. 7 years. reduced to ink on paper. My lawyer gathered the documents. Then he looked at me. You were right. I nodded. Yes. Nothing else needed to be said. Outside, the sky was cloudy. The weather didn't matter. The world looked exactly the same. Yet everything felt different. For the first time in years, my shoulders felt lighter. I drove straight to Lily's school. She climbed into the passenger seat carrying her backpack. She was 16 now, almost grown. She looked at me, then frowned. Why are you smiling? I laughed softly, because she was right. I was smiling, a smile I hadn't worn in years. What happened? She asked. I gripped the steering wheel. We won. She stared at me. What does that mean? I looked at her. It means you're staying with me. Her eyes widened. It means I'm your dad, and nobody can take that away. For a moment she didn't speak. Then she leaned across the center console and hugged me, tightly, the kind of hug that says everything. Neither of us talked during the drive home. We didn't need to. That night, after dinner, I sat at the kitchen table. The final custody order rested in front of me. I read every word. My name, Lily's name, the terms that would guide the rest of her childhood. Helen sat beside me. She placed a hand on my shoulder. You did it. I looked at her. We did. Then I folded the order carefully. Not into my coat pocket. Not into my folder. For the first time, it didn't belong there. I placed it on a shelf in my office, where it would stay. A reminder, not of victory, but of patience. Because some men fight with anger. I fought with time. And in the end, time fought for me.